When you think of Tarkov and the vast variety of guns available to us now with this deep in development, one caliber of weapon that should immediately come to your mind are the AKs, and more specifically the 5.45 AKs. They're the bread and butter of Tarkov, the workhorse of the game. These guns have been in the game since its first incarnation alongside the trusty M4, and over time, more guns and calibers have been added. Unfortunately, the tried and true weapon of this game has become somewhat of a shadow of its former self. 5.45 has been in a rough spot for some time, and while the AKs themselves have gotten better over time in terms of recoil and ergonomics, the rounds they use have become much more stagnant. Like most weapons in this game, when Tarkov wipes and everyone is on the closest playing field the game offers, it doesn't matter what round you use, everyone has bad gear, so the ammo's way less of a factor when you shoot people. But when the game gets to where we are now with Tarkov, 3, 4, 5 months into a wipe, 5.45 only has 2 rounds that can do what it needs to. Granted, this sentiment can be applied for most other calibers, but for that many that 5.45 has to offer, the fact that only BS and 7N31 or Eagleneck can reliably kill people is really most unfortunate. What makes this even worse is that since top tier rounds are no longer purchasable from vendors and Eagleneck is only craftable, BT is your only go-to option if you don't feel like spending 4 digits a round for anything better. And you don't get access to BT until you do Punisher Part 4 from Prapor, and it only has 37 pen. That's the same as 5.6A1 for the M4, which is even easier to obtain once you unlock Peacekeeper's questlines. It just doesn't make sense to me that BT is the last round you can just straight up purchase, meanwhile both PK and Skier sell 5.5A1 at level 4 vendors for the M4. The discrepancy there just doesn't really make sense to me, and I really hope it gets addressed in the future, because it sucks. If BT is going to be the last round that you can obtain from Prapor, then I would argue that it needs to be better. Not by much, but better. I would say something along the lines of maybe 40 pen? Yeah, I mean 40 pen would make the most sense given when you get the round. Of course, it would also make sense to make the round more expensive. Or hell, even after you do Punisher Part 4, if they made it so you don't get it until Loyalty Level 4 before you can purchase it, I'd be fine with that too. I just feel as though AKs right now are really bad, given that 7.62 BP is the best round in the game because it's so reliable, and the craft is stupid easy and cheap to make. I like 5.45 AKs, they have some awesome attachments and they can be really interesting and fun to use. Granted, one of their major downsides is that suppressors don't make their recoil the best it can be like an M4, but that's part of the balance of the AKs, with their slower rate of fire and naturally higher recoil compared to something like an HK. I just wish that the ammo was better to help back the gun up more, because right now the argument is that the best AKs are the 101 and the 103, and neither of those are 5.45, which makes sense. There's the Mutant, but I'm not even classifying that as a traditional AK, and besides, it's already the best gun in the game because it uses BP, so I digress. All the 74 variants of 74, 74N, 74M, and the 105 are count in this category, and 5.45 loses on all accounts, and that sucks. That should not be how it is. It's a shame too, because as the bread and butter workhorse of Tarkov, the AKs have taken a backseat for a long time, which just doesn't feel right. BSG have tried to compensate them in more ways than one, but it's just not enough. They need to make the ammo better otherwise. And I would personally love to see them reclaim their heyday, where most people were using AKs because they were fun and enjoyable. Are they completely awful and not usable in any way? Absolutely not. Do they fall off when compared to the newer guns? Yes. And it boils down to mainly the ammunition for them. The gun itself has been improved, like I said, multiple times, and the base stats have gotten better, but the attachments have kind of been lackluster a little bit, except the JMAC. The JMAC is really good, and it makes the AKs really strong. So it's not like the gun is god-awful, but the fire rate's slow, the recoil is not nearly as good as an M4, but honestly, the first round is what matters most, and that boils down to penetration and velocity of the round. I just hope that this caliber gets some love and the minor tweaks it needs in order to compete with other guns that are currently dominating right now. Otherwise, this old reliable will be left behind with the times, and nobody wants that. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I hope to see you in future ones.